Hello, babies. How are you today? How's everybody doing? Good? Oh, man. I can't believe it. I can't believe it, Callow. I can't believe it. I can't believe this one ramped up to an 11. I can't believe Terry McLaurin actually asked for a trade. Whether he's serious or they're serious, who knows at this point, because we can go through the million people who have asked for a trade and are still on their team. And I actually think that's what's probably going to happen here. But I actually feel foolish saying for months I'm not worried about this because here we are, and it's gone to a place where I can't believe it got to, honestly.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat where, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And that was us leading all the way up until yesterday. And then you see the Schefter, amplification of he asked for a trade. And then it goes from panic level 3 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 because it's out there now. It means that he's considering it. And we can unpack what it actually means because Myles Garrett requested a trade and we can go through all of it. But still, this is the most beloved player on the team that's been here since 2019. And the fan base was in about as much of a panic yesterday as I've ever seen them with a report like this.
Yeah, this guy's different, and so I do want to talk about that. Like this isn't a run of the mill average. Doesn't want to be here. I don't want to be disparaging to Terry. We have spent months doing this comparison chart of, well, if this is what he's asking for, his age comes into play, his stats come into play, the eye test comes into play. At the same time, he's Mr. Terry, Mr. Special of the area. I believe there's a bonus for that. There's a Lifetime Achievement Award part of it, which I think actually comes in the form of putting him in the Ring of Fame and living on scholarship in this area for the rest of his life. But he clearly does not believe that that's worth giving up whatever the gap is right now. My wife was asking me last night, she was actually upset about it. Like, this is one of the first times in my household that I've come across, probably because the Commanders weren't very good for a long time. And now all of a sudden, here we are. And, it feels like the sun is shining on us for the first time in a long time. And the most beloved player in the building, at least for now, until number 5 takes over, but the most beloved player in the building and the guy who stood up for the organization when there wasn't much to stand up for, at least on the field, because they were making it very difficult to have the type of career that he had. He's the one that's become a massive distraction for them. At the same time, I'll hear him out on this is his last major payday and he wants it here and he wants to feel the love. It's my opinion he wants to feel, as far as I can tell, a little too much love, and he needs to take that into consideration. However, it doesn't change the fact that I do want him to be here. I know the team wants him to be here. And of all people, I'm surprised. I didn't see this in his constitution coming to put this team in this position right now. But, negotiations are hard. I've been through a couple, not like this, but like I've been through a couple in my career that I felt, I've talked about this before, that I felt like I can empathize a little bit because, if you don't feel the love from the people that you're working for and putting it on the line for, I get it, especially when you look around and you go, but that person's getting paid like this. Why don't you see me that way? So I totally get it. And I understand it. I think I'm more just like surprised we're here for both sides. So I don't want to go through the flow chart of is he Justin Jefferson or not. I think I just want to talk about how do we fix this and everybody save face, I think is really the most important part now, because maybe I shouldn't say this because I'm been saying for months, I'm not worried about this. And so I don't even want to guess that they're going to fix it because clearly both of them are very firm in their positions right now. I'd rather talk about brokering a peace deal at this point and try to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it here is, the flow chart of how we get here is they're far apart. The conversations haven't gotten better. Like we've done a lot of assuming along the way, which is assuming they would work out a deal. Oh, he's, everyone's back in Ashburn and he's holding out, but everyone's under the same roof. Maybe they'll work something out. Oh, the holdout went from a hold in. maybe things will start getting better. Clearly, nothing has moved along, even though training camp has come. He's now showed up to training camp. He's there with his agent. They're so far apart that this is the next logical step. And we can talk about whether this is a negotiating tactic or not, too, because I'm assuming that if some team is calling the Commanders are letting Terry talk to that team. Maybe they work out that number and the Commanders go, great, that's your number. That's a part of this. But at the same time, did we really have to go through all of this to get to
Correct.
point B to C to D to where we're at right now? And that's where I think, like, I'm just shocked we're going through these channels for this player. This isn't, I'm just going to, like, this isn't a Curtis Samuel. This isn't somebody like that has just shown up, been a free agent, whatever. As you said, he's a special, like, heart and soul, fight your guts out, super smart guy, as Joe Gibbs would say. I just hate that between these two, it just feels like they've both been jerking each other around a little bit, and I don't like that at all because we're on the upswing so much here that I just didn't see this coming for this player.
So I do want to start with, because I've spent a lot of time really guessing what Terry wants, but having a pretty good idea and seeing why. The chasm is deep because he perceives himself amongst a very select group of players. The team clearly doesn't want to pay him that, not necessarily because they don't see him among that group of players. I think they're very concerned about the length and the number on a contract because of his age. Like, we talked about this for a long time. He's not 25, right? Even if you thought he was of the caliber of Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, he's not their age. So that matters here. That matters. I know he kind of doesn't want to hear it, but like, that does matter here. I want to start with, I haven't criticized the team a lot about this, but now that we're here and we've gotten to this point, there is something I do want to say, because I was thinking about this last night. I appreciate that they run a really, really, really super tight ship. I actually think that's very important. I think it's really great 90% of the time, that, like, you don't need to be dragging out all the business, all these things that you hear about. Like, I know a lot more than most because I'm in the building a lot more often and I hear a lot more. And, as you know, I say what I can say on the air that I feel is not detrimental to the team and is not information that I shouldn't be disseminating anyway. They know 8 million times more than I do. And I 100% agree with, there's nothing worse than the leaky ship that's constantly putting things out there. And it just makes the whole place, like, I think, like, you feel the dysfunction when that's happening. So I appreciate that they're not that way. I appreciate that they keep everything close to the vest. I appreciate they don't talk to the reporters very much. And I actually think that's a good trait that they have. But it's 90% of the time it's good. And 10% of the time you need to take a couple select situations. And I think you need to use the media, maybe not to your advantage, but to explain your position a little bit more. And in this case, like, I think if I could do anything that was a do-over on their side, I think I would have disseminated or leaked a little bit more about where they are and where Terry is and maybe why they're really balking at this, as opposed to leaving this guessing game. Because I think if this came to a head earlier in the process, maybe in May, like around the OTAs when he wasn't here, and all of a sudden, so now we knew he was serious when he didn't show up to the mandatory stuff late in the spring. Had they allowed that to kind of get out a little bit more, talked a little bit more than they had, I think this might have gotten settled a little bit differently. Either way, whether it's we are going to figure something out or we are going to trade him because he's asked for it, I think that would have been helpful, because we're in kind of no man's land right now. So if there's one thing that I've, without knowing exactly what he wants, but we all have a pretty good idea now. I was saying this for months. I'm like, I don't know what he wants because they're not talking to anybody. Nothing's being leaked. And 90% of the time, I agree with that position by a team to not dispel all of the inside information to the reporters. But every once in a while, something comes up and it's beneficial for you to get out in front of it and allow the media to help move a process forward, publicly pressuring either way. So if there was something that I have an issue with that the team did, and maybe it's a lesson learned for a new front office, is that I think they could have opened their mouths a little bit on this one a little bit sooner. And we may be in the same spot, but we could have been in the same spot in May and not August. And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the fact that it is August 1st and we're talking about a trade request, that's like such a night and day difference than literally 2 months ago, in that it could have festered earlier. We could have figured this out. And I go back to my original point, like, if this is a negotiating tactic, you could have had that conversation in May with
2 months ago
with the Patriots or whoever else steps
100%.
up and says we want to give him this contract, because those teams are more serious about those moves at that time anyways too. We're talking training camp now. Like, you know, that's a whole other part of this as well. You know, I also thought, and I'll just ask your thoughts on this. I don't know if you're going to bring this up or not. Like, Josh Harris was at practice yesterday and he was walking with Peters, and like, you got to think it was brought up, right? Like, I'm not saying Harris demanded anything.
I would assume, but I don't know. And I don't want to say that it was, because I don't know. And meantime, they're having meetings with the city council, literally trying to push across a vote for RFK. There's a lot going on, you know?
Of course, but you can't tell me that Josh Harris, Mr. Harris, went to Peters and went, so just tell me what's going on with 17, and not demanding anything, but just asking, like, why are we here? And then literally 3 hours, 4 hours later, after that happens, a trade request comes through. Like, I thought that the timing of that was a little bit odd. And like I said, and we've talked about this, does Harris get involved? We don't know. And I don't think anyone's really rooting for that, because we've been there before. And that's just a mixed bag. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like, if he gets signed because of that, great. But if then all of a sudden we know that we have an owner that all of a sudden is meddling back in this stuff, it's a mixed bag. But I just thought that was an odd thing that happened yesterday too, was that here's the owner at practice. We haven't seen him at practice. He's walking with the GM. He's walking with Quinn. Like, they're talking about it. Like, there's no way they haven't at least checked in, is what I'm getting at with that one.
So, right. So, like, listen, because we're here, both sides are at fault.
Yeah,
both sides are. Like, this is both sides. Like, Hendrickson's situation with Cincinnati actually doesn't even feel both sides to me. It feels like they just don't want to pay him. But like, in Terry's case, I know the team genuinely wants to get an extension done. If they didn't, the talks would have never happened in the first place. You know, like, so like, to get to this point, there was a communication between the two sides that they wanted to get something done that is not just to make him happy for this year, but into the future. And clearly there was a breakdown of what that future looks like and how much is going to be allocated towards it. Adam Peters has a job to do here. It is not to just appease every player and give them exactly what they want, which is why all along I'm like, I need to know what he wants, because that does matter here. It doesn't change the fact that I believe Terry McLaurin is deserving of anything he can get here because of the person he's been, the player he's been, the professionalism he's shown. But the fact that we're here now is also partially on him as well. It was him waiting out a process, and for him to actually make a trade request in the second week of training camp feels way beyond his constitution. Like, that there's not something, it almost feels like it's something I can't believe would come out of his mouth. And so, like, there's this part of me that goes, have we misjudged you, you know, for a little bit? You know, I want to be fair. Have we misjudged you? Because you know what you're doing to our training camp in the second season off of the best season this team has had in 30 years. You've waited your whole career to be part of something like this, and suddenly you're the one that is putting your hand up and trying to slow the train down a little bit. And that is surprising that it's him doing it. So this is a both sides problem. This should have been dealt with much, much, much earlier. And even if it did get to this point, it could have happened in the spring. It did not have to happen now. So him asking for a trade request in the middle of training camp bothers me, because I'm surprised it came from him. I also understand he doesn't want to buckle. He's firm in his position. He thinks he believes he's earned what he should get. I don't take issue with that. It should have been dealt with a couple months ago. And for the team, you should have dealt with this a couple of months ago. We shouldn't be here. Like, this conversation could have come to a head, and maybe it did, but what were you waiting for to resolve it? Why is this happening now? Why are both sides so firmly entrenched in this position? And that's where I think like a week ago when I was talking to the national people and they're all like, I can't believe this one got to this point. I went, neither can I. He wants to be here. They want him here. There's a difference of opinion in what the contract looks like. Figure it out. It's not like he doesn't want to be here. Figure it out already.
Yeah, like I would say this, you talked about Hendrickson there for a sec too. Hendrickson went about it the right way the whole way. Like we've talked about it all off season. How basically during Radio Row, he said, I'm getting paid $15 million a year. I know I'm worth more. And within that time frame, the Max Crosby deal came out, the Myles Garrett deal came out, the TJ Watt deal came out, and everybody's in agreement. That guy's underpaid, right? He should be getting 30 to 35 million probably for what his production is. And he very nicely said, if you don't want to pay me, trade me. He's been saying that from week one, right? So the Bengals have known what they're up against. Everyone else knows what the deal is. The Bengals haven't seemed interested in trading him, which is weird if you're not going to pay him, whatever. Whereas with us, this all ramped up in the last 3 weeks, really. Like he did start going to some of the off-season stuff, right? Like that's what I actually don't really understand either. Like this is both sides, but also he could have said this from the get-go as well.
I said this on Monday. I said, now that finally the cards are on the table, we can get this fixed, right?
Right.
And this is what I'm saying. This conversation should have happened 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And they should have just sat down and said, Terry, we love you. We want you here. You know what you mean to the team. You know what you mean to the community. Like, this is where we are for these reasons, right? And if this is just completely unacceptable to you, then we will work on trading you. But we have to do it now, and we really don't want to. We want you to be here. And Terry then needs to say to them, I do really love being here. You know that. I really appreciate this fan base. I really appreciate what I've done here. I want to be part of the winning culture that's here now. Here's what I'm willing to do. And this conversation seemingly is happening now and should have happened months ago. And this is the mistake on both sides. Terry, it almost feels like God was like, they're going to give me what I want because I'm me. And I don't know how in the world they're not going to come around to that. And they may be waiting it out with me, but that's what they're doing. And the team is going, we told you what we're willing to give you. You're not listening to us. This is kind of it. Then that Sutton deal came out and everybody in the media went, well, that's the comp. And Terry's going, oh, no, it isn't. I'm not him. And this just ramped up to a 12. And you know what? This is where I think both sides are really wrong here. Terry McLaurin is extraordinarily important to this team at this time in the present moment. And Terry McLaurin needs to understand that, for someone who waved the flag for this team when it didn't deserve it at times and really stood up for this organization amid a lot of things that were going on and really was a standard bearer for professionalism, for him to let this get to this point now when we're actually looking at what hopefully is going to be the start of a winning era, that's wrong. All of this is wrong. Guys, get in the room and fix this. Do it today. Enough already with this. Don't please team. I know what they're going to do because other teams do this. Don't put them on ice for a week. Don't say, all right, we're going to New England. You're not coming with us. Go home, Get out of the building. No more showing up and signing autographs with the fans if that's what you want. We're not going to play that game with you. Get your agent out of here. Stop being on the practice field every day. We'll call you when we get back from New England because we're going up there on Tuesday to go practice and we're going to play this game. Don't do that, okay? Terry, sit down and talk to them this weekend before they go. Get this over with and don't let this linger because if they let this linger through the weekend, the team is going to travel to New England and it's going to take another week before we even get around to anything about this. Guys, fix this now. Just fix it now.
And how about the irony of that they're going to play the Patriots, the one team that has been linked with Terry? It's not been anything serious, but we've all circled that team as being one of the ones that would be very interested in number 17 services too.
That's right.
That's the other thing that's a little bit odd here is you can't tell me that when the whole team travels up there that Adam Peters is not going to talk with Mike Vrabel and who's running the ship up there. And they're going to at least say, hey, what's going on with that guy? Like, what do you think about this deal? Like, if they're going to casually talk about it, I don't think ultimately anything would get done, but
I don't either.
but it is the one team that we've all kind of circled that would be very interested in his services. To this point, too, of how we got here as well, I just don't understand, too, how, like, there hasn't been some kind of pullback of, okay, well, we can't do this, but we can do this. Like, I've spit at you a million times. Hey, maybe you tack on one more year, but you have less annual value. Or maybe you give them a bigger signing bonus up front. Like, those are the types of things that could usually fix these situations. And I don't know what the negotiations have been like, but as we've said, he's a special. He's been here. He's been through every name change. He's been through 2 owners. He's waved the flag. Like, I feel like there's been a guy that's earned a little bit of wiggle room on getting that extra year on a contract for maybe less value or getting that signing bonus or whatever. This is the guy that's kind of earned it. And
Yes,
I will still point back to this is that locker room has got to be talking of, God, if they're not paying him, what are they going to do with me when my contract's up? And
sure. And I would also say this, and what I've learned about this locker room over the last year plus is if you don't want to be with us, we don't want you here.
Sure.
So like, I don't care who you are. And the reality too is this, and I've landed on this too, and this is why I'm disappointed in him personally. Like the train has left the station on this. Like we're not the same team we used to be. You either want to be part of what's going on here and be part of the future and be part of what I hope is going to be a sustained run with number 5 at quarterback and DQ as the coach, where we're winning, and I don't know how big we're winning, but we're winning and we're winning regularly. That train has left the station. Do you want to be on board with it? And there's this part of me that looks at him and I go, like, you waited so long to be part of something like this. You know what's going on here right now. You have lived it. How are you getting in the way of that momentum right now? Why don't you want to be a passenger on board with it? And I think he does, but this is where I'm disappointed in both sides that we're here. Like, I don't want to get this mixed up. And I agree with you. And I keep saying this. I'm like, he's Terry McLaurin, legendary player of the team who still has a lot to give. That is worth more than the Cortland Sutton deal. Okay. And I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. But like, what does that look like in terms of when Adam Peters and the team come back to them and say, listen, like, this is what we can do for the here and now. This is what we can do for the immediate future. Your age does matter. If you're outperforming your age, we're not going to want you to go anywhere. Like, we're never going to want you to go anywhere. So you've got to do this. And secondarily, to Terry, I would just say this. If this is only singularly about getting the most money you possibly can, enjoy playing for the Titans and not being the special player that you are here. You're just going to be a good player on a team that's trying to figure it out, right? I'm using them as an example. Who knows? Because they need a receiver. Now that Treylon Burks is done and out of there, they don't have one. So you don't think a team like that wouldn't raise their hand and say, we need to get a receiver in here immediately with our number 1 pick quarterback. We got to get somebody in here. Like, good luck with that. Like, you want to be the not special player. You want to live on scholarship the rest of your life. You want to be in the Ring of Fame. You got to work with us here a little bit. And the fact that we finally have turned a corner, and we have, and the fact that we are heading towards what I hope is a winning era of football. And I've been waiting, like everybody else around here, for a very long time to have this feeling and to have not even just a feeling of it. I know they're heading in that direction. You just know it, that they're heading in that direction. They're going to be an extremely competitive team for a sustained period of time, especially with this quarterback. Why are you not jumping on board with and going and riding the roller coaster? Like, I just, all of it is like, it's one thing to get into like you said, it's one thing to get into a contract negotiation with just a player. No offense to anybody. I won't name anybody. Sure. To get into it with the player, who's meant so much, makes no sense to me. And from his side, it makes no sense that you're the distraction. None of it makes sense to me. Like, guys, like, put your egos aside. Both of you, Terry, his agent, and Peters and the command, put your egos aside for a minute. Just get this done. Like, enough already. Get this done.
Yeah, because the cold counterpoint to like you saying this team has now turned a corner is I also see the other argument of I've been waiting for my payday when we turn this corner too. Don't you want me to be a part of the ride here as well? Like, and that's where I just think it keeps counterpointing. They keep counterpointing each other, and at some point they just need to sit down and say, "What do you want? This is what we want. Can we meet in the middle here?" And it just seems like both of them are so set in their ways that nothing is moving forward. Because that's what I feel like is the problem here is we haven't even gotten the report of the negotiations have started up again and they're moving closer. Like, it's kind of funny. The Hendrickson thing happened like that like a month ago where it was, oh, the Bengals are talking to him again. Then he showed up to training camp the other day and said, nothing has changed, guys. Like, that report at least gave some kind of light of hope. With this, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. We've not gotten a good report at all for the last month, essentially.
This is why it goes back to, I really wish that we came to a head like this just a few months ago.
Right.
Like the second he was not showing up to the mandatory stuff in the spring should have been the ultimate sign of he is dead serious about this. You guys clearly have a disagreement in what you're going to do moving forward, but you both agree that he wants to be here and you want him here. So let's sit down and have the real conversation. And this is why I guess, I really wish, either the team would have forced him to make this choice sooner, or he would have talked about it sooner. And then we could have settled this before training camp ever started, one way or the other. Whether even if it ends up in a trade of him, it would have been way better to happen then as opposed to now. And that's where I think both sides were just way off here. And this is why I think all along we're all like, I can't believe we're here with this. Like, how are we here with this when both sides want the same outcome? It doesn't even make any sense.
I think that's like one of the things that sucks the most here is I'm also seeing some fans be like, oh, well, what power does Terry have because he's under contract this year for 20 million or 25 million, whatever that number is. Oh, and they can franchise him next year. And my counterpoint is like, do you really want to D around this player? Like, I don't want to mess with the guy that has been through the ups and downs, really mostly downs, and then the up last year. Like, that's not how you treat this player either. When it comes down to it, you don't treat him like any other player like that.
You cannot give him anything.
No, I agree.
Right?
No, I
and
agree
that's why I agree with the team. Once it started to trickle out what he wanted, I'm like, well, that's where the problem is. Like, he wants to be paid like what, the number 2 receiver in the NFL at 30? Like, I'm sorry, but there is a limit. Like, I agree with we want to show the love to a player who deserves the love. But there's a limit to what that looks like. There is.
Right. But I'm not saying they need to give him whatever they want. I am saying, though, the part of the fan base and the media that are going, oh, well, the Commanders control him so much that, like, why do they have to listen to him or do anything right now? And I'm pointing of, hasn't he earned to at least have a conversation about an extension? Like, that's where I'm getting at here, where like there's so many.
Well, he has it. He's had it, though. They said in the spring we want to keep him here for a long time.
Sure.
Peters doesn't say much. So, like, they said they want to do it. They weren't balking at doing it. They said they want to do it. He doesn't like what the contract looks like.
Right. But what I'm getting at is like holding on to a player as a hostage, as Mike Tomlin would say. I don't want to do that with this player is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree. I don't either. And I don't know why he would feel that way. Walk around DC, Terry. You know how we feel about you. You're not a hostage around here. And the reality is, if this one goes up to a 13 and we actually trade you to whoever, you're not going to be that person there. You're just going to be the guy with all the pressure that's like expected to perform and put up crazy numbers, probably ones like you've never put up before. Because if you want to get paid like CeeDee Lamb, well, you better put up CeeDee Lamb numbers when you get somewhere else, or you're a disappointment. Or any GM that signs the 30-year-old receiver to the $120 million contract that's almost fully guaranteed, they put their job on the line. If at 32, your production goes down. Sure. So, like, there is risk everywhere here. And I just wish we weren't at this point. He should be here and play out the bulk of, if not all of his career. He knows that. I know that. Everybody knows that. This team knows that. Like, at the same time, he needs to also understand that, like, not everybody breaks the new, like not everybody resets the market. It's not how it works. Not everybody does that. So I wish this happened earlier. It's too late now. What's done is done. Needs to be fixed. I really do hope they do not trade him. He has no leverage with that, by the way. Not that I think needs to be said. And I've been avoiding trying to say it because I think he knows this. He is under contract. He is not making $5 million. He's scheduled to make against the cap 25. He is not a hostage. And if you want to if you want to forfeit $20 million to make some statement here, I like you're and be 31 when the contract tolls, you're making a massive mistake. And I don't need to be an accountant to tell you that. And if you do go nuclear like that, it's not going to end well. So all the leverage sits with the Commanders, with the exception of, guys, I can't believe we got here. Couldn't we have dealt with this differently?
That's right. Right. No, I think that's the gist of all of it is how is this conversation not moved along? Like, that's how I think of really what it boils down to is you guys are both so set in your ways that you have not been able to come up with anything. Like you and I have even kicked around. Even if they don't extend him, you still gotta give him something to come back.
He has to get a win. He has to get a win now. I said that for a week. I'm like, what's the win going to be? You have to give him one. I don't know what that is. And that might be where the ownership has to come in and say, what would make you comfortable if we can't come to terms on a long-term contract? What makes you comfortable this year and into next year? What would make you comfortable? Because the reality is, if they franchised him, he's making over $30 million next year. So that's an unavoidable number next year for them. Unavoidable. As long as he plays, it's an unavoidable number. So he's in the stratosphere of what he wants from a leverage perspective. So let's just, come on, guys. Like, what makes him happy? Just make him happy. And let's move on.
Right. No, and I mean, look, I'm getting deja vu because it feels like the Kirk situation again. Like where remember with Kirk, the number was that he wanted to start with was the franchise tag. Remember that was the problem for 2 years because he's going, no, I'm fine with playing that. That's where my contract starts. And the team was balking at that, and eventually they move on from him. And that was a whole different regime, obviously. But I'm getting deja vu with the way the negotiations went. It feels like we're running in circles again of the two sides can't even start to come to an agreement. And now all of a sudden things have escalated to a trade.
All right, Terry, don't go anywhere. Team, don't trade him anywhere. Come on, guys. Figure it out. Just figure it out.
Guys.
We'll be right back. Very much the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. The thing that would have been the story today, had it not been for what happened with Terry, was the revelation that Jaden Daniels kicked somebody out of the huddle for a false start, and his vocal leadership is growing. And he actually kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday during his press availability with the media. And I've been pleasantly surprised that that's a maturation for him. It's a natural thing for him to be. He is not, I think he's very, very, very well liked. But I haven't seen a lot of the kind of like on the field directional, I'm the quarterback, do this now stuff. And it's pretty natural that in year two, especially after the year that he had, this is just a symbol of he's taking more command of everything.
I see what you did there. No, I know that Jaden also emulates what works, and what's like one of the best stories that we hear about with quarterbacks. One of them is always Brady, how he basically would boss around an entire offense because he was the best. I think what this does too is, not to say that there was any doubt, but you and I know this, like the second half of last year, they're all looking at him to save every play or save the season or do whatever they need to. That means he's also commanded that respect of, listen to me because you know what I can do on the field and you know that I give you the best chance to win. So listen to me. So I love this. I'm not shocked that it's happening in year two, especially with just how last year went. It's not like he was, had a mediocre season. He's demanding this respect. He had a really good season, brought him to the NFC Championship. And it also, I think, speaks volumes for him that he's got the confidence to do that as well. So I love that this storyline has started to develop, that he's doing exactly what we thought he would do if he was going to be successful.
I am going to continue to say this because I'm out there every day watching them. The offense as a whole remains a real work in progress here. And it's very early. Here we are. It's August 1st, so I'm not concerned about it. And I know what this player is, but on a day-to-day basis, It's not, I think the best way I would put it is it doesn't feel in sync yet. It's not really clicking. I think Terry not being there is a deal. I'm not suggesting it's not. I believe they're way, way, way better, with him. I mean, I know a lot of people will say this, and this is also true. Who has Pat Mahomes' receivers been since Tyreek Hill left? Who is the great receivers that have played with Lamar Jackson? Who is, now that Diggs is gone, Buffalo went as far as they did with him. And who were their receivers a year? You mentioned Curtis Samuel. He was one of them a year ago, so some of the great, this is unfortunate truth for Terry is, and this is why the train has left the building a little bit here. The great quarterbacks, when they have great receivers, it's a luxury, but they don't need them. Okay. They don't need them to win. The mediocre quarterbacks need them to win. And so but I will say this, and maybe his absence is part of it, just in general. And again, I'm not alarmed by it, but it's just the truth. It doesn't look in sync yet. And I think that's been a surprise because I think off of last year, you just expected, well, they got Debo. Well, they got Tunsil. It's going to look like a machine. It really has not yet. And, it's plenty of time, but it hasn't looked that way yet.
What I'll say that I'm concerned at, though, is, we don't get a lot of storylines during OTAs and mini camps, right? But one of the stories in OTAs and mini camp was Cliff saying they were going to parse down the offense, that they weren't going to add things on top of stuff from last year. And I think that's a concern for me. You're telling me that you're simplifying or keeping the offense kind of the same or stripping things away, and you still haven't been in sync yet. That's a little bit of a red flag to me. And once again, as you said, it's August 1st. They haven't played anyone in preseason. There's a month to go. But I thought things being simpler would mean things come together a little bit faster. That hasn't happened. That being said, I also know when the lights turn on and number 5 gets out there, they're going to be fine. But the fact that they did parse down things and it's not looking good, just, we'll call it a red flag, but, concern level not insanely high because it is still trending.
Yeah, again, everything feels like eons ago, but I think the thing that really stood out early in camp last year was how ahead of the curve the offense kind of looked, and it should have been a sign of what's coming here, but it took to the regular season to go because it's a rookie quarterback, it's a new coordinator, it's a lot of other parts. We're going, who's number 2 to Terry? All these things, is the offensive line actually good? How, what are you going to get out of Zach Ertz? We were saying all these things coming into last year. And so you needed to see it to believe it. This time around, I went, well, they're going to be better. I mean, there's just no way around it. After the season that they had, the upgrades that they made, there's no way they're not. And I will tell you that day to day in practice, it hasn't looked it yet. Now, they haven't had any competition. The defense has switched up what they're doing, which I spent a lot of time talking about yesterday. And actually, that's the really promising thing that off the first week that I'm watching going, oh, this could be a very different, very aggressive. This is the DQ Dallas defense. Are they going to have the same impact? Are they going to get the same amount of, I don't know if they got the personnel to do that, but you could see the makings of a much more aggressive in his image style that's coming along here. I'm actually very excited about that. And if the offense can become the juggernaut with Jaden that I thought it's going to become, well, then they're going to be really good this year. I just haven't seen it yet. And you know what? I keep telling myself too, don't peak now. I want you to peak in December. I don't care what you look like August 1st, honestly.
No, that's absolutely right too. The offense can figure it out. I'm not that's what I'm saying. I think the concern level, like I said, it's a red flag, but the concern level isn't high there. I especially know, once again, when Jaden gets out there, I know what he's capable of. I thought one interesting thing that he said, I don't know if you watched any of the Kay Adams clips that she had she had Jaden, Debo, Quinn, even had Deron Payne on for a little bit, but I thought it was interesting. Jaden was like, oh, for the whole first half, I was relying on my athletic abilities. And I was like, I don't know, man. That throw in the Bengals game was a little bit more than your athletic abilities. But the fact that he even acknowledged that tells me I'm not really worried about the offense. They'll be okay. They'll figure it out along the lines. I do think there is one thing that, with Cliff saying he wanted to parse down the offense, it did sound like he wanted to run the ball more, but it sounds like Bill has been showing off just about every day that they've had pads on. So I'll say if there's one kind of bright spot, it's him, because everyone keeps raving about every day that he plays. And if they figure that out, that will help the offense along once the pads actually start getting going.
I'm trying to slow my roll on Bill because he hasn't been tackled yet. So
sure. Yeah.
but he looks the part. I'm not gonna say he doesn't.
Don't take him in the second round, is what you're saying yet. Don't take him in the second round of fantasy.
No, not yet. One quick thing also, this one, which I thought was amazing. So the Hall of Fame game opens last night. The first play's a fumble on a dynamic kickoff, but the guy returning it's a linebacker. Like,
right, yeah.
It's the most liney thing. And if I was a Detroit fan with 2 new coordinators and that's how they start, and I know it's game 1 of 4 in the preseason and it doesn't matter and whatever, they got blown out, but who cares? You know, like none of the starters are playing. That's one of those things where this is when you start looking at Dan Campbell going, why would you do that? Like, why do you have a linebacker who's not going to return the kickoffs in the real games? Why would you do that? Like, so now you're just messing around now? Like, we're trying to win here, buddy. We know you have a great team, but like, don't play with your food all the time. Like, what are you doing?
It's the Hall of Fame game, man. Who cares? If you're going to do it,
I don't know.
This is the game. So
why would you rep somebody returning a kickoff that's never actually going to do it? Like, why would you do that?
Maybe he's the emergency returner, and they just put him out there for one. I'm just saying, if you're going to do wacky stuff, that's the game to do it in.
I wrote that one down. I wrote that one down. When they go 9-8, and I go, remember when they used a linebacker to return a kickoff? Like, you remember that?
It's an extra preseason game, man. What? It's a glorified practice. Like, Trey Lance played the whole time. What are we really doing here with this game, anyways?
All right, we'll be right back. Brad Bush Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, a few quick things before we go away for the weekend. One, Gilbert Arenas got arrested for running or being part of, because it was in a house of his in California, an illegal gambling ring that involved apparently high up Israeli spies. Like the whole story is kind of perfect Gilbert. Like, I don't really get it. He states that he just rented his house, that he had actually nothing to do with it. That actually doesn't get him off the hook. I'm no lawyer here, but that doesn't, because it did take place in his house. It's a little bit like the Michael Vick wasn't running the dogfighting ring, but it was happening in a house he owned, and therefore he was responsible for what was going on in the house. And so similarly, Gilbert's, I don't think he's going to get off the hook for that. If he wasn't the dealer or playing in it, I do agree it's different, but it's not going to change this. And as someone who likes to play poker, the big problem is you can't take a rake. And apparently that's what was happening here, is that the house was making money on the, if this was just these higher ups playing a game and there was no rake, it still would be illegal, but I don't think it would be pursued like this because they took a rake out of every pot, which is what casinos do. It's how they make money in poker rooms. That's why he's in trouble. So it's just Gilbert as it gets, though, where you're like, oh, I forgot. You do crazy stuff. I forgot.
Well, not only that, it's also him getting the video of him leaving the jail, too, because he did get out and, claiming he's innocent or whatever. But it's so Gilbert Arenas. He's so heavily involved with like gambling chatter, too. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of this one because I don't know how serious it is either. Like you said, he can say that it was just his property, but I don't know, man. The guy talks about gambling all the time, has been involved with some crazy stuff. It's not going to surprise me if he was a part of it too.
Right. Well, I mean, did he what was this? He Airbnb'd this house, or did he rent it directly to them because he knew this is what they were going to do? And, therein lies what the case is going to be. And whatever. It's just...
It's crazy.
I guess we need to update that documentary about him.
Right.
All right. Couple quick baseball things. My son was actually sad about this. Cedric Mullins goes to the Mets. He's had a rough day. Cedric Mullins, who was one of his favorite Orioles, got sent to the Mets. And then when I showed him the Terry stuff last night, he looked at me like, this isn't real, is it? And I was like, welcome to sports. This was a real welcome to sports. Like, you will fall in love with some of these people, and some of them will break your heart. And some of them will do it, in ways that you don't expect. And some of them will do it because the team does it to you. And so get ready for that roller coaster, because this is the first, like, he had a day where he was like, he actually texted me. He was like, I cannot believe they traded Cedric Mullins. He loves him. And I'm like, I can. And then later that night, I got the Terry McLaurin one. And I went, I don't even want to show you this because I'm actually upset about this one.
Yeah, the Mullins one was one that had been, pegged for a long time of they're not going to re-sign him. There's still too many kids in the system. You get what you can for him. And it's a lost season for the Orioles too. So they were moving everybody they could. Them and the Nats moved about as many people as they could yesterday. And not surprised here, but you know what? Like, this is one that's kind of fun. I don't want to root for the Mets, but if the Mets go far and Mullins is a part of it, that's always a fun little storyline that you get to follow. So good luck to Mullins.
Soto winning the World Series.
That would be crazy. That'd be like if you could have a time machine. If you go back to in 2021 and say, oh, by the way, Mullins and Soto are going to be on the Mets and win a World Series, I would have called you crazy.
Yeah.
So
standing next to each other in the outfield. That's what they're going to be doing.
Nuts.
That's crazy. It's really crazy. The Nats did trade a lot of people, but not the ace pitcher. So all of that smoke ended up being no fire. I'm assuming because they didn't get the fleece deal they were probably looking for, right? Like they dangled him to see if they could get someone to bite and give up the whole kit and caboodle, right? Is that what this was about?
Yeah, I thought, Mike DiBartolo played this right. There was a report that came out around 1 or 2 o'clock. I think it was Heyman that said the Nats are counter offering some of these McKenzie Gore offers. And so the chatter there was they're at least getting in the ballpark. I actually thought that was a negotiating tactic by the Nats to get someone else that got squirrely and hopefully step up and do it. No one did it. I'm all right with this. I do think Gore still goes on the block in the offseason. I think if some team really wants him, they can get him. But I liked the way that they did this. I thought they played the trade deadline really well. They kind of got the Cubs involved. They kind of got Detroit involved. They kind of got a couple teams involved, at least talking about him that, hey, you threw him out there. You listened. That's all I really wanted them to do. You didn't get what you wanted. But I think in the offseason, it's another possibility that he could also be traded.
But they'll only have 2 postseason runs with him.
Correct. That's exactly right.
So we are in a brand new day where we trade people when there's only 2 postseason runs.
I'll say this though. What I loved is they unloaded everybody except for Josh Bell, it seems, in terms of rentals. And that's exactly what I wish Mike Rizzo had done the past couple of years. It was a little bit baffling that he hadn't done this. Like they traded Kyle Finnegan to Detroit yesterday.
Yeah.
Kyle Finnegan should have been traded last year. And granted, he didn't get signed and they re-signed him in the offseason. That was one where I was like, why didn't you make that deal? And you want to have some fireworks for the rest of the season, Bram. I think they have the 5th worst pitching staff in general. And they traded almost every pitcher that was worth anything yesterday. So take the overs for the rest of the season in these games because I don't know who's pitching and who's going to be able to get any outs for this team.
It's like the LA crowd. You want to beat the traffic, leave in the 6th.
Yeah, I mean, no joke. Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the score is, leave in the 6th.
One thing that I will say is that I just want to react to real quick is they traded Alex Call to the Dodgers. Call actually had a really good turnaround. He's 30 years old, so there wasn't really a spot. I texted someone that I know, that knows the Dodgers really well. They said one of the pitchers that we got pitches over 100. He's actually kind of intriguing. And so I responded, better or worse than Josiah Gray? And he said, more hopeful than Josiah Gray. So that's my takeaway with that trade, at least, that they maybe got a pitcher out of it from the Dodgers.
All right. Hopefully by Monday, we got some better news about
why would there be
long-term friend, Mr. Terry McLaurin.
There's not.
Come on, guys. Get it done. Make everybody happy. All right. Talk to you on Monday. Bram Watson Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.